Hello and welcome back to We Are Crafted in His Image. Today is our very final project in the Blessings of Home Cocoa and Crafts class, and we are going to make this card here. Actually, we're going to do a little bit different, but this is, oh, look at the butterflies, so pretty. This is the card that we're going to make. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's pull out our stuff. Now for this particular one, you're going to color in your image with whatever coloring medium you want to do. So if you want to use watercolor pencils or our inks like we've been doing, or I used blends for this one here, and I will show you which blends I used and show you a little bit how I did it. But yeah, you're gonna be able to color this whatever color you want your flowers to be. So let's go ahead and get started putting things together. You have your envelopes in here. In one of the envelopes there are some items. Let's see, we've got a die cut and a ribbon, and your ribbon is green instead of purple. And then there are some butterflies, some of our brushed brass butterflies. And the reason I swapped out the purple for the green, I realized after I did it that you may not want to use purple flowers. You might want to have different color flowers, but more than likely your leaves will be green. So I pulled out one of our green ribbons to use instead. So we're gonna go with that for this card. Excuse me. There's only a couple pieces. You've got your card base, you have this cut out black piece, and then we have our die cut, and that's it for this card. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this stamped. And you are gonna need the large image, the large flower image. And we're actually not gonna use any of the inks that came in the kit. We're gonna use just the waterproof or water resistant. I'm using Memento ink for mine. We're gonna ink up, let me move this out of the way. Ink up my stamp. Get that color all over. And then again, as I've mentioned every time we do this class, if you have my kit, you have the die cut, you're gonna then lay it on top. This works the best this way. Oh, I messed up a little. That's all right, because it's going to be turned black anyway. There we go. And then get a second block and press down. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. And there we go. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Perfect. Okay, move this aside over here. And now you can do some other stamping if you want on the envelope and on the inside of the card. And I'm going to go ahead, grab me a scrap piece of paper here, set that, let it dry. Whoops, pull this back in again. I'm going to ink up, I think this corner. No, sorry, it's this corner. Get my rights and lefts mixed up. And then I'm going to just stamp some of this image in that bottom. Like that. Oh, that is pretty. Very nice. So that's going to be the inside of our card. And then we're going to go ahead and also do the envelope. Much like we did the very first card in this kit. We stamped along this whole side. So you could either do that, stamp like that much on there, but I think I'm just going to do this bottom corner. Just that bit like there. There we go. So now we have all of the stamping done, and now it's time for coloring. And so you do want to give this a minute to dry. Even if you're using the blends, you want to give it a minute to dry. If you are doing watercolor, if you're doing the inks, you definitely want to make sure it is fully dry before you start coloring. But this is, I'm going to pull over here. These are all of the colors I used for my particular card. for the flowers that I did in this. And I will have all of these listed on the blog so that you can see them. But I'm just going to show you how I colored in some of these flowers. Just to give you, I'm not going to do the whole thing because that's going to take forever, but give you an idea of how I use the blends to get the look that I got. So let me get this, make sure it's focused. There we go. Sorry for the wobble. And yeah, I'm going to go and get started. Now, our blends come in packs of 2. There's a light and a dark of each color. Okay, so here this is Calypso Coral and it's got a light and a dark. Generally speaking, you're going to use both of these in most of your projects. So if I were doing a leaf, for instance, on some of the leaves, you would use a light and then a dark. And that would give you your shading and your shadows. For this flower here, I actually used 4 shades to make this flower. So what I'm going to do is pull in the colors that I used, and I'm going to show you a couple of the petals. So I like to start with, oftentimes, especially if I'm using if I'm doing a rather large area, I'm going to start with the lightest color and I'm going to color the whole thing. Now I'm only coloring 1 petal at a time. These are all alcohol based, and the key is the alcohol allows it to blend, but alcohol also evaporates very quickly. So you don't want to do all of these and then try to come back to it. It's not going to be wet anymore and it's not going to blend as easily. So then I like to switch now to my darkest color, and I'm just going to put a little bit of shading right at the base of that petal and kind of going up where those little shadow marks are. And for this one, because it tucks behind that other petal, I'm going to go all the way up that side. And then I'm going to grab the next darkest color, and you can use either the bullet point or the felt tip point, the wider point. Actually, I think mine is almost drying out. Let me get this one. There we go. There we go. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to blend. I'm going to add a little bit of this color up onto that shadow, but it's also going to help blend out the edge between that and the darker shade. And then grab my next one. Okay, so we're going to use this next, I guess it's my, what do you call it? It goes there. Not the lightest. Oops, switch these around. Here we go. Not the lightest. Anyway, I'm going to go right here now, and I'm going to then go along that edge. And you can see that darker color blending into the lighter color. And then I'll come back in with my lightest color and kind of go over. I want to leave a little bit of a shadow there. Even when you put a second coat on, it's going to lighten things up even more. And here, let's try that one more time. So, you put these where you can see them. That one goes there. Now, I often don't like to snap the lids back on all the way between each, but I like to kind of cover the tip just to keep, again, to keep that alcohol from drying out, but I don't necessarily snap them on. So I'm going to go ahead and color another petal here. I'm just going to color in with the lighter one. Grab my darker one, and the darker one I almost always end up using the bullet tip end. The next darker one, this is hard to do where I can keep the markers where you can see them. Blending that edge in. The medium. And then go back over with the lighter and make sure everything's blended. And there, that's how I did the larger petal. I used all 4 of these colors. Now for the leaves, I wanted some of the leaves to be kind of a yellowy green and some of them to be a little bit more of a bluish green. So I used a combination. I know, like I mentioned before, you usually use the light and dark of the same color, but for some of the leaves, I used 2 different ones. This is dark granny apple green, but it is light mossy meadow. And the light mossy meadow actually ended up is darker than the granny apple green. but that's how I did these leaves right here. The mossy meadow is, here, I'll do one. For this one here, I'm just going to do the dark and then the light. So I'm going to go pull that dark color in where the shadows are. And then go over the whole thing with this granny apple green color. And I may have to come back in with some more of this green. Oh yep, there's the darker shade. And just let that bleed and blend. There you go. Now the key thing with this particular one, when you finish, you'll notice there is a white border around all of our flowers. And when you set that on here, then you would end up with a white border between the flowers and this black background. And we don't want that. We actually want it to disappear. We want that to be gone. So what I used was one of our basic black markers, and this is a water-based marker. Now you could use the Blends black marker if you want, but I found I didn't have as fine of a tip as I wanted on mine. You could even use just black ink, however you want to do it. And you're just going to take your marker and come in and color in. And actually I have a set almost finished, but you can see here, actually let me put this on top. You see that white border? Yeah, we don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish coloring that in. And I am going to pull this over here because one of the things you want to do is not just color on this top part, but you also want to get the very, very edge of it right here. So what I like to do is actually go around with it so it's actually touching that scrap paper too. I'm just going to color in all around these flowers. So whether you're using watercolor, if you're using like our watercolor pencils, I still recommend that this particular part you do with the marker, because this marker ends up being the same intensity as the color on the cardstock, and so it disappears. You really don't see it at all. But anyway, not only did I do around the outside edge, I also did in between where there were blank areas between the flowers. Now if you didn't want to do this coloring part, you could go and use your scissors and you could cut it, but you're going to have a difficult time right here around these, and then you'll still end up with these areas in between the flowers that will end up being white, so you'll want to color those in. But by doing that, it gives a really, really cool effect by making it look like it's just the flower. I mean, the flowers just pop off of there so pretty like that. So let's assemble our card pretty quick and easy. Here we go. We have the card base with the flowers that we stamped, and we're gonna fold that over. And then you have options. So you also have, I'm trying to find it. Where did my black cardstock go? Uh-oh, hold on. I finally found it. It was underneath my stamp set. So you're going to want to glue this, you're going to want to adhere this onto your card, but you're going to want to put, if you want, this is where the options come in. I told you I gave you green ribbon to go on here, but if you find that this green doesn't coordinate well with whatever colors you are using to color your flowers in, and you don't want to use it, this card looks just as pretty without it. So totally up to you. Oh wait, hold on, let me zoom you back out again so you can see what I'm doing. Ha ha ha, sorry. This zooming in and zooming out is really takes a bit to remember to do. So your option, if you want to put this on or not, I will show you how to do it. Otherwise you can just leave that off. I am noticing, and you may not be able to see it in the screen, but I have some pencil marks on here that I used to line up when I was putting that die on there. And so if you have those pencil marks, go ahead and get those erased off before you start putting things together. So to put this ribbon on, what I chose to do I put a little bit of adhesive right along. Come here, there we go. Right along that edge, like that. And then lay your ribbon right into that adhesive. And it's okay if it's too long, and actually it's better if you do leave it long on both ends on this one. I found that when I did this one, I had cut it earlier, and you can see it's kind of folded, it's kind of pulled over a little bit on me. So I'm going to wait and cut everything once I get it adhered. So that's on. So now we're going to go ahead and put adhesive on the rest of our black piece here, and maybe even a little bit more over that ribbon, just to make sure the ribbon doesn't get pulled out later. And then this simply lines up on the folded edge of your card. Top and bottom, folded edge. You shouldn't see any of that petal pink showing through. There we go. And then once you've got that adhered, flip your card over. Whoops, sorry. And trim off your ribbon. That'll give you a much nicer edge to the ribbon if you do it that way. Yes, that looks much better. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is adhere our flowers on, and then our butterflies. So the flowers are going on with dimensionals. And double check. Oh, see, I noticed where I was just doing, and I don't know if you guys, you probably can't even see this, but there is a little bit of white right here where I didn't get it very well. And I can kind of tell when I flipped it over, there is a black outline all the way around, but there's no black outline in this little area here. And that's showing me that I did not get it well inked. So I'm just going to do it this way. Make sure none of that white shows. There we go. And now time for dimensionals. And you do want plenty of dimensionals on the back. That way when this goes through the mail, or it just later on, it doesn't end up losing its dimension. It ends up, if you don't have enough dimensionals on here, they'll end up flattening in between, and that doesn't look quite as nice. So you want to put plenty on here. It's part of the reason I like to cut mine in half, so that I can spread them out more. There we go. And then where's my trash cup here? Get all these backings. Now you could, if you really wanted to make sure this did not flatten at all, we had some dimensional sheets that you can die cut out, and it would cover the whole back of it. And there, we're just going to add this on however you want it, twisted or straight, or however. Stick that down, and then you have some little butterflies. These things are so pretty. They are so pretty. And they really pop against this black cardstock. 1, 2, and 3. Let's see. I think right there. And there we go. Finished project. Actually, we finished with Cocoa and Crafts for this month. This is our last video. So let me pull out our envelope, and there you have it. Project number 4 done. I hope you enjoyed this one. I would love to see how you decide to color your flowers. I would love for you to send me a picture. You can post, you send me an email, I guess, or post to my Facebook page or something. But I would love to see how you design your cards. These are just so pretty, the flowers. There's so many color combinations in flowers, and I'd love to see how you do yours. So until next time, God's love and blessings to you. Bye.